Hello, welcome back to Ever17 Out of Infinity. Several hours passed. It seemed the sun was getting ready to set, but deep in the ocean our sense of time was disappearing. Checking my watch was the only way that I knew it was the evening. Nothing changed in Lima. No one had come to pay us a visit. But things hadn't gotten worse. Right now there was no sign of flooding or impending collapse. We had just been passing the time as we saw fit. For now, we had all forgotten about not being able to escape. I was in the rest area. I sat on the bench and looked at the blooming flowers without really seeing them. There was no one else around. We were going to meet again at 7 o'clock. Until then, we had free time. I was thinking about Sara. The revealing of what she really was. Sora's real identity. AI, artificial intelligence, a program, a virtual image. Sora didn't really exist. In other words, Sora wasn't a person. But Sora clearly had a will of her own. She could think and act for herself. I knew that much. But with my limited knowledge, everything other than that was beyond me. There were lots of things that I couldn't know. I looked down. The floor was covered with a layer of water. The lights in the ceiling were reflected in the water. It was like the cold light of the moon. I poked my finger into the water. The water rippled and the surface shook. The light in the water fragmented into disarray, finally returning to its original shapes. I reached into the water trying to grab the light. But I could only grab a little seawater. I couldn't touch the light. I tried again and again, but I couldn't. I get my hand on what? My hand on the moon. Okay. That would be get my hand on the moon. I wish you'd start with the basic stuff. Sora was sitting next to me. At least that is how it appeared to me. I decided to seek out an explanation directly from Sora. What exactly was Sora? It might have been rude asking her outright like this, but I thought that it would be ruder to continue along without really knowing. What is RSD? I want to know that. Yeah. It might be something that you really don't want to talk about. Well, you're not a person, you're Sora. So asking about systems and stuff, it might be kind of personal. I don't really know how to say it. I just thought that it might be like someone was peeking inside you and kind of unpleasant. My broken explanation brought a soft smile to Sora's face. I squeezed my hand shut. Of course, I wasn't holding anything. Huh? Tsutsukeshi? Sora gently put her hand on her chest. Saying that, Sora looked at me and slightly dropped her eyes. I felt like pieces of the puzzle scattered on the floor of my mind were about to fall into place. As if enticed by her grin, I became quiet. I concentrated on what she was saying so as not to miss anything. She placed both of her hands on her chest. Yes, I see you. I'm positive. Suddenly Sora faced me and reached out toward me. And then... Whoa! Sora's hand slipped without resistance into my chest. Reflexively, I tried to grab her arms. Only my hands met with nothing. My hands were in front of my chest, but there was nothing there. Saying this, Sora pulled her hand back. Retina. So, yes, the R is for retina. Retinal scanning display. Oh.
網膜に向けて出力の弱いレーザーが照射されているのです。
Retina, you mean my eye?
はい。各部屋や通路の天井には半導体レーザーの出力装置がついています。それで少年さんの網膜自体に直接画像を映し出しているってことになりますね。
Image?
ええ、はい、私の画像です。
Directly on my retina?
一般的なホログラフィックスクリーンは背後にある物体を透過してしまいますが、眼球そのものを仮想画面として扱い、また周囲背景と合成した画像を高速で送り続けることでその問題はクリアされています。
Whoa. Well, what about your voice? It sounds like your voice is coming from where your mouth appears.
少年さん、3D サウンドって聞いたことはないですか？
3D sound?
ヘッドホンをつけて音楽を聴いたことは？
Probably, but I can't remember, so I don't know for sure.
そうでしたね。失礼しました。では答えを言ってしまうと、大抵の人は音が後頭部の中心あたりで鳴っているように聞こえるはずです。
Inside their head? I tried to visualize what she meant. A melody playing in my mind. I could get a vague sense of what she said. Yeah, I think I kind of see what you mean. I think I've probably heard something like that before.
でも実際には音が頭の中で鳴っているわけではない。
Fascinating. I suppose not.
これを応用して左右の音量調節および反響音のシミュレートを的確に行うことができれば、前後左右上下どの方角からでも音が聞こえているように錯覚させることができます。
I see. Oh, so that would be the voice converters. I still had both of them in my ears. I removed them. They were about the size of my little finger. In front of me, Sora's mouth moved soundlessly. It was like I couldn't hear her voice. But that wasn't all. Then her image started to get a little fuzzy. Huh? When I replaced the voice converter, Sora returned to normal.
投影する映像の転移の修正を左右対になった変換器の位置で行っている。
That is freaky.
少年さんがどこにいてどちらの方向を向いているのか、レミはそれを常に館内のセンサーと変換器からのデータを用いてミリ単位で計測しています。ですから私が少年さんの背後20メートルの位置にいるときにはちゃんと少年さんの背後20メートルの位置にいるかのように音声が聞こえるようになっているのです。右にいるときには右から、左にいるときには左から、下にいるときには下から。
Under when you were under?
とにかくそういうことなんです。わかりました？少年さん、今度はちょっと左を向いてみてください。
Yay. I faced to the left as she said. Sora stood and moved around to my right.
さっき私はレミが少年さんの位置と向きを常に把握していると言いましたが、同時に少年さんの眼球の動きと位置も常に計測し入力しているのです。ですから少年さんが動いても私は同じ場所に立っているように見えます。そう見えるような画像をレミがスキャンしているということです。
So you can be made to suddenly disappear or reappear in another place? No, I think I'll pass. I suddenly imagine Sora disappearing and fleeting around here and there. Somehow, it's kind of like a ghost.
ええ、よく言われます。同じ場所にいて同じものを見ているにもかかわらず、ある人には見えて、ある人には見えない存在。私は見たことはありませんが、もし本当に幽霊みたいなものがいるとするなら、それはきっと私と同じような存在なのでしょう。
Now I get it. But there's something that bothers me.
何でしょう？
Sora, so you can't be in more than one place at a time? For example, you couldn't be in one room talking to me and another talking
理
with
論上
Sara?
は可能です。しかし私の場合、それはできない仕様になっています。
Why not?
お客様にリアリティを感じていただくためだと思われます。世界中に ソラという存在はたった一人しかいない。そういう設定にしておかないとお客様の中には混乱なされる方もいらっしゃいますし、それと制作者のポリシーですね。私を独立した人格を持った一個のキャラクターとして扱おうとした制作者のポリシー。そういえばユナイテッドランドのキャラクターも同様だと聞いたことがありますね。館内に着ぐるみのマスコットは1体ずつ、物語の中と同じように同じ種類のキャラクターが2箇所に存在しないように配慮されているそうですよ。
The time for our gathering was getting near, so Sora and I headed to the conference room. It seemed strange that Sora, who could teleport anywhere instantly if she was talking, maybe she was doing it to humor me. I was wondering about the laser retina scan. So if I were in a place the laser couldn't reach, then I couldn't see you?
もちろんそうです。ですが、出力装置は館内のすべての部屋に設置されていますし、光線を反射させるためのミラーも壁、天井、床の構造材に埋め込まれています。ほとんどどこにいても私の姿を見せることは可能なはずです。
So there are no blind spots.
そういう設定になっています。けれど致命的な欠点が一つだけあります。
Flaw?
私は誰かに見られることによって初めて具現化することができるのです。
What?
誰も私のことを見ていなければ私は存在しないも同然ということです。例えばここにいる5人全員が一斉にまぶたを閉じたりしたらその瞬間私の姿はどこにも存在しなくなってしまう。
She just wouldn't be here if we all had our eyes closed. I casually held hand up in front of my eyes. I covered my view forward and looked down near my feet. There was no sign of Sora next to me. It was as if she was vanished or never been there in the first place. Surprised, I removed my hand and Sora reappeared in the corridor. The outline of Sora's sandals blurred dimly in the water.
誰かが私を見る。その行為があって初めて私は姿を現すことができる。視線、誰かの視点が私を作るのです。少年さん、あなたが目を閉じた時、私は消えてなくなるのです。
Eventually, we reached the conference room. Sora's face was one big smile, but somewhere in her smile seemed a hint of sadness. At least, it appeared that way to me. It was nighttime. In the ocean, it was only slightly darker than before. Fortunately, the damage to Limu hadn't worsened. I had a light dinner eating the chicken sandwich that Takeshi had made. Incidentally, we had gotten rid of that frozen tuna because nobody knew how to cut it up. After eating, there was really nothing to do. Takeshi's yawn was contagious.
それにしても眠いね。
まあな、特にこれといってすることもないし。
Everyone was slouched in chairs, just spacing out. There was no impending danger, no new developments. Our situation was unchanged, and it felt like time had stopped.
裏なにだらしないぞ。
You said, but she sounded tired.
だらだらするなよ。
でもな、今さら館内をうろうろ歩き回ったって大した意味はない。
Man, it's so boring waiting around to die.
あ、そう。さてさて、私はちょっから出かけてきますかね。と一緒。
Rubbing her neck and trying to relax her stiff shoulders, you stood up.
あれ？先輩どこ行くんですか？どこってわけじゃないけど、散歩にでも。体動かさないと余計に疲れるのよね、私。あ、拙者いいこと思いついたでござるよ。
Sarah raised her hand and stood.
いいこと？みんなで体を動かすような遊びをするでござる。いいけど、例えばどんな遊び？忍者ごっこ。それはちょっとね。
鬼ごっこなんてどうですか？
Sora seemed up for the idea.
まあそれならいいかな。よしみんなでやろう。
おいおい、なんでそんな子供の遊びなんかを。
ところで少年はどうする？もち参加するよね。
What? Me too?
だってみんな参加するって言ってるんだよ。少年もやらなきゃ。
私は参加しないわ。
ちなみに俺もだ。
おといつぐみ以外のみんなは参加するって言ってるんだよ。
俺も不参加だって。
Alright, I'm in. I was pretty much sick of the boredom.
よーし決まりね。田中選手、松永選手、茜ヶ崎選手、倉成選手、少年選手、以上5名の方がエントリーされました。でもただの鬼ごっこっていうだけじゃつまらないと思いません？そうね。
Oh, we gotta make it interesting now,
ハンケ
okay.
ルにしてみてはいかがでしょう？
Sure. Sure, you sure have good grasp of simple games like this.
そういうんじゃなくて何かこう変わった思考が欲しいのよね。
We all thought. And then
仕方ないわね。
Tsugumi stood up from her chair sluggishly. She walked briskly toward the corner of the room and flipped off the light switch.
なんだよいきなり。暗いじゃないか。
どう？これで気が済んだ？もううんざり。私までおかしくなりそうだわ。
Tsugumi shot us a nasty look and left the room.
何あれさあ。
騒が
No
しいのが
idea.
気に障ったのでしょうか。
But still, why turn out the lights?
私までっておかしいのはあいつの方だろ。でもまあ時間が経てばちゃんとまた戻ってくるさ。
ねえ少年、悪いんだけど電気つけてきてくれる？
Okay, sure. I went to go switch on the lights.
ちょっと待って。
What is it?
せっかくだからこのままでやろうか。暗いところで鬼ごっこ。あ、じゃないや、缶蹴りをするの。
Sarah took one of the empty cans from the table.
名付けて闇鬼。面白そうじゃない。
Ah.
それで決定。
私も賛成です。
It's a bit more exciting than normal, Tag. Sure, why not?
当然倉成も OK だよね。
たくしょうがねえな。
So we unanimously agreed, except for Tsugumi, to play the kick the can in the dark. We decided who was it using rock, paper, scissors.
せーの、チッケピッ。
が負けだ。
Takeshi was out on the first try.
じゃあ倉成が最初の鬼ってことで決定。決定。
頑張ってくださいね。
Okay, everybody was grinning at Takeshi. Takeshi looked about as sorry as it was possible for him to look. Here you go, Takeshi. I handed the empty can to Takeshi.
でもって隠れられるエリアはこの3回全部。よーしみんな隠れるぞー。よーい。
ちょっと待った。
Takeshi held up a hand, hurriedly stopping you from sending everyone off.
いいお前今なんて言った？
隠れるぞー。
違う、その前。
隠れられるのは3回全部。
マジかよ。会議室の中とかじゃなくてか？
この部屋だけじゃ狭いし、
Yeah.
隠れられるとこが少ないじゃない。
You ever played hide and seek?
3回全部
Huh?
もちろんここから歩いていけないエリアはダメだよ。非常通路とか階段に隠れるのもなし。
それでも広すぎるわ。鬼が降りすぎる。一人探してる間に絶対他のやつにやられるぞ。
いいじゃないそのくらい。
よくない。ゲームが成り立たない。切実な問題だ。
もう文句が多いな。
まあまあ、確かにハンデがありますね。そうですね。それでは
Disadvantage.
3階フロアの照明は全て落としますが、代わりに音がよく聞こえるようにしましょうか。音が大きく聞こえれば、水のある通路を誰かが移動していればわかります。これなら鬼の人が有利ですね。それから私も移動中の場所がわかるようにします。足音を合成して音声変換器に発信しますから。
オッケー、そうしてくれ。
あ、でももし缶にたどり着いたら私どうしましょうか。
Huh? Oh.
空は缶が蹴れないじゃねえか。
We'd only just noticed if we played tag, we. What did it say? Just would have had to ban Sora from jumping about as an image. Okay. Team
5
up.
人時も逃げて隠れる時も空と私は常に半径1メートル以内にいなくちゃいけないってことにするの。そうすれば私が缶を蹴ればいいんだしね。そうしよう。
はい、お願いします。
On top of that, we made Sora promise not to use the bioscan early mode to monitor the location of anyone. Yeah, that makes it fair then.
おーし、準備よーし。
It looks like everyone was ready.
じゃあ数えるぞ。1、2、3。
As Takeshi started counting, we dashed out of the conference room. We left the room in a group. The sound of our stepping through water sounded deeper than before. I get it. So this is what she meant by making the sound bigger. I thought that we would have to pay attention to which sounds were our own and which others. And we'd have to determine which footsteps belonged to the person that was it. But for the person that was it was easier because everyone else was the enemy. That pretty much negated any advantage we might have had. At least that's what I thought. Yeah. After we had run a fair bit.
はい、ストップ。
You who had been running at the front of the pack stopped us. What's up?
先輩、早く隠れないと見つかっちゃいますよ。まあまあ、いいから話を聞きなさいって。
何か作戦があるようですね。
Strategy.
そう、その通り。このまま普通に行けばバラバラになって隠れるだけなんだけど、それだと負ける可能性も高いわけじゃない？
But that's the way the game works, isn't it?
甘い！甘いぞ少年！ゲームといえども、男なら必ず勝ちを取りに行かねばならんのだ！
But are you supposed to be a girl, you? I stopped myself from saying that in the nick of time.
でも先輩、必ず勝つ方法なんてないですよ。本当にそう思うのかね、マヨくん。
You said this as she played with Sarah's braids. Well, hurry up and tell us already.
私たちにあって鬼にないもの、それを検証すればおのずと答えは見えてくるでしょ。私たちにあって
But Takeshi doesn't.
人数ですね。鬼、倉成さんは一人だけです。
イエイ、その通り。
I see. Oh, I get it. We'll try to win by sheer numbers.
あ、私たちの一点に押しかければ鬼は手も足も出ないはずなの。
誰かが見つかったとしても、すぐに別の誰かが缶を蹴ってしまうわけですね。
Yeah.
その人が見つかったらすぐにまた別の誰かが缶を蹴る。
We outnumber him. Easy win.
鬼は攻撃を防ぎきれないでしょ。なるほど。ってことで、総員一旦3回した後、会議室の缶めがけて突撃。缶を蹴ったらすぐに離脱。そのヒット&ウェイの繰り返しで勝利はこっちのものよ。
But isn't that kind of cheating?
そんなことないって。物量作戦は傭兵の基本よ。デフォルトよ。
So it's kind of like violence by the masses?
民主主義作戦ってね。
Whatever.
民主主義、多数決、つまり勝者は弱者よ。
So this is how we're going to play this. So we separated and all aimed for the conference room via different routes, but our footsteps were sure loud. Still, if we didn't hurry, Takeshi would find us. I just hoped that someone would get there and kick the can before he found me. Oops! Suddenly Takeshi's voice rang out behind me. I was so concerned with the sound of my own footsteps that I didn't hear him approach. At this distance, there was no way I could get away. I gave up. Oh no, you caught me. Am I the first one? Dang, that means if you catch everyone, then I'm it next. I wonder if someone will show up to help me. Takeshi, if you don't go step on the can, then I'll go kick it. Suddenly you came flying from the side with and completely sideswiped Takeshi with a jumping cross chop to the neck. Takeshi's head had gone underwater. He was pointing at the submerged Takeshi and crackling crazily. Takeshi, floundering in the water, stood up. Hey, he even got wet. Look at that. Takeshi took off in a mad dash after you. Oh, I guess I better go kick the can. I strode leisurely to the conference room. When I entered the room, Takeshi pointed at me, declaring this. He was stepping on the can. Yu was near him and looked depressed. It looked like she had lost. Oh no. As they were talking, the sound of splashing footsteps could be heard approaching the door. Takeshi stepped on the can. You said we would all charge together. You laughed mischievously and with a hint of embarrassment. Oh, that was a fail. We gathered in the center of the room. We failed. You reluctantly agreed to be it the next time. Sora, Sara, and I, everyone nodded. The sound of a can being kicked rang out in the darkness. As soon as she got this out of her mouth, you started to run away. We all scattered like scared butterflies. You said this as she ran.
間一髪でしたね。
But who kicked the can? All four of us had been found by Takeshi. The rules were that anyone caught couldn't kick the can.
私でもないし、先輩でもない。空は最初から蹴ることができない。
I didn't kick it. Oh no. Who was
小松さんでは
it?
ないでしょうか。
つぐみがまさか。でも、それしか考えられないよね。
I wonder if Sugumi wanted to play the whole time.
きっと照れていたのでしょう。
That could have put a new, almost adorable twist on her personality.
あったらお礼言わないとね。
Sarah laughed happily as she said this.
さて、ここで解散しよっか。
You proposed this as we reached a T in the corridor.
そうでござるな。では、ご分を。
また後で会いましょうね。
You went left and Sarah and Sora went to the right. I... Oh. Go with you. How about Sarah and Sora? Go with Sarah and Sora.
あら、少年さん？
Unless we have to be in groups of two, I don't know. Yeah, but where do you plan to hide?
一緒に逃げるなら、君も考えて。
I ran with the two of them.
そうだ、いいこと考えちゃった。
Saying that, Sarah stopped suddenly. But what?
どうしたのですか？
こういう時こそ忍法でござるよ。
Ninja skills!
空殿、竹し氏が来たら RSD で無人の通路を表示してくだされ。名付けて科学忍法隠れみろ。
え、でもそれは。
Isn't that against the rules?
硬いこと言わないの。瞬間移動や生体反応の検出は禁止にしたけど、レミ自体の使用は禁止されてないじゃん。
That's sneaky.
裏技って言ってよ。
No, I'm not having any of it.
申し訳ありませんが、私も賛成しかねます。
だったら科学忍法分身の術は？
Huh?
RSD で私たちを何体も表示してたけしを混乱させるの。
That's the same thing.
レミを使う忍法はなしにしませんか？
ちぇ、忍ともカンとも。
Just then,
誰か来る？
田中さんではないのですか？
probably. We peered through the darkness in the direction of the sound. We made out the silhouette of a person. That build could only be.
あ、
No, it's Takeshi!
え、本当ですか？
Hurry, we've gotta hide! We dashed down the corridor.
あ、いけません。そっちは。
A watertight door blocked our way forward. We're stuck!
行き止まり？
だから私は申し上げたのですが。
There was no room nearby that we could escape into. We should have hidden in a room somewhere. Takeshi was heading towards us, for sure. At this rate, we would be caught for sure.
どうしよう、どうしよう。
これは観念するしかなさそうですね。
Sarah flustered, Sora resigned to fate. On the other hand, No, not yet. At this distance, I decided that it would be better to make a dash for the nearest room. Let's go, I think we'll make it. Okay, where? I dragged Sarah and Sora back down the corridor. We found an entrance and dove into a room. But...
少年じゃねえか。
Whoa, what happened? I couldn't believe it. He cut us off. It's no good. Go back.
どういうこと？
Just as we turned back to the corridor,
みっけ。
there was Takeshi.
ああ。
Oh, no, did we
見つかって
lose?
しまいましたね。
まったく手こずらせやがって。
もう少年が戻れなんて言うからだよ。
But, I didn't know what else to do. Not long after that, he found you as well. We met in the conference room.
よし、あとはつぐみだけだな。
Because she stepped on the can looking satisfied.
にしても変なんだよな。
Weird, what is?
さっき蹴られた缶なんだけど、缶はそのままだったんだよ。
はあ、言ってること意味不明だよ。
だから蹴られたはずの缶がこうやって立ってたんだって。
Because he said this as he squished the can some more.
まるで誰も蹴ってなかったみたいに。
蹴られた缶が転がってそのまま浮き上がったのではないでしょうか。理論上はありえます。
Ow. It isn't a ghost, is it?
最初に置いたって。
それは変ですね。
そんなことよりも早くつぐみを探しに行かなくていいの？そうそう、負け惜しみはそのくらいにしなさいよ。
今負けてんのはお前らの方だろうが。
はいはい、そうでした。そうでございましたよ。もう分かったからさっさと探してきなさいって。
You and Sara waved Takeshi away.
たくなんて偉そうな。全然勝ってる気がしねえよ。
Takeshi left the room grumbling. Soon after that, what is going on? The sound of a can being kicked rang out in the darkness. What was that?
なんだかよくわかんないけど。チャンス。
Help. I wonder if it's okay. In the confusion, we made our third escape.
おい、見つかったやつが蹴ったらルール違反だろうが。
We heard Takeshi shouting soon after. Of course, neither I, you, Sara, nor Sora, none of us could kick the can. Oh, that had to be Sumikumi again. She probably sneaked into the room without anybody noticing. That was what we thought. Ultimately, Takeshi soon caught us again. He howled that we had cheated and started out to find the right way, so we didn't get far. Takeshi checked to make sure everyone was there and stepped on the can even once for Sugumi. The next time, nobody kicked the can.
今度は少年が鬼だからな。
Alright, so I count to 100, right? I took the can and sat in the chair with my face down. Alright, here I go. 1, 2, 3. They left the conference room, fleeing around the floor. 100. I opened my eyes. I set the empty can by my feet. It was as far from the entrance as I could get it. Scanning the dark area around me, I didn't see anyone. Well, I guess I'll go looking. I decided to head off to check some rooms. Ooh. Control room. How about the elevator hall? I want to go there. The elevator hall. There's no sign of anyone. Just in case, I also checked in the elevator that Sara had been trapped in the day before. The elevator door was still open. Of course, there was no one inside. This place was a waste of time. I decided to go elsewhere. I wondered where they'd hid. The kiosk, maybe? Okay, I want to try kiosk and then the ruins. Yeah. The chicken sandwich shop. There was no sign of anyone there. Just in case, I peeked inside. Of course, there was no one there. This place was a waste of time. I decided to go elsewhere. Wondered where they hid. Okay, control room and then rooms. Control room? We headed to the central control room. I didn't think there was anywhere there for anyone to hide. Oh! The room was set up with the center surrounded by a giant monitor and console. There was Sugumi. She sat slouching in their chair, staring blankly at the monitor. Sugumi, I caught you! At my declaration, Sugumi looked at me like I was a fly in her soup. She glared at me.
私は参加なんてしていない。
Come on, you already kicked the can twice. Takeshi might have fallen for it, but not me. I stepped on the can just to be safe. I selected from the... Whoa. Okay. Weird. Marine runes? Marine runes. This attraction was designed with the motif of a lost continent believed to have sunk to the ocean floor ages ago. Standing there in the darkness in that eerie setting, it almost made me imagine that I had sunk to the bottom of the ocean. No, that was only half true. Huh? It sounded like a footstep. Is someone there? I wondered if it were my imagination. It wasn't. In the darkness, in the building in front of me, was the dim outline of a person. But in that light and at that distance, I couldn't be sure who it was. It was like the person was holding their breath, waiting for me not to notice. But he or she looked like she was ready to dash off in an instant. I thought that if I bumbled closer, the person would run away. I'd have to figure out who it was from afar. It had to be... You! I found you! As if it had given up, the silhouette started toward me. Alright, bingo! Good job. It looks like my hunch paid off. Can't stomp. I selected from the rest area. I made for the rest area. At first it looked like there was no one there either. But then I noticed something. One of the stone pillars silhouettes in the open area was an odd shape. No, it was the top of the pillar that had something strange about it. I edged closer. Wait, what? There's definitely something there. From where I was, I couldn't tell exactly what that something was, but it was definitely a person. Maybe they thought they were acting like a koala. What they intend to do if they fell. I mean, can you really call that hiding? I called out to that clinging something. Isn't that tiring? It sure looks dangerous. But you sure have got a lot of guts. You're tougher than I thought, Takeshi. Takeshi slid down the column. The only person stupid enough to hide there was Takeshi. I got you! I stepped on the can. Only Sara and Sora remained. I walked around Drit's stock looking for the two of them. I heard footsteps in the direction of the conference room. I was sure it was Sara. Gosh, I hope she isn't planning to kick the can. I made a mad dash for the conference room. At the entrance to the room, the two of them were just at the door. Sara and Sora. I sprinted into the room on their heels. I gotcha, Sara and Sora! But Sara just ignored me and kept running. Her eyes were on the can. It was as if she knew where the can was. I thought I changed the location of the can. I also ran toward the can. Would she kick the can first? Or would I step on it first? The two of us tumbled to the floor. Oh no. So, who got it? What happened? Well, the next thing that I noticed, I was on top of Sara. Sara's eyes were open, staring at me. I barely managed to support my body with my arm so that I didn't come into contact with her, but her face was closer to me than I had ever imagined. I felt like I might be sucked into her eyes and was captivated by her cute nose, slightly opened lips, and glimpse of her tongue. I felt her breath on my face. She had been running until that time, and I felt the heat rising from her skin. It smelled of sweat. The smell of our sweat mixed together. I felt the warmth of her body against me. It was hard to breathe. My mind started to go blank. My whole body stiffened and I couldn't move. It was as if our bodies were paralyzed as we lay there staring at each other. I don't know if I need to know that whole thing about sweat mixing together. Sarah slowly raised up her cheek. Oh, danger, she's mad. This was not what I should have been worrying about. The can. Where was the can? I turned my neck searching for the can. There it was! I jumped off Sarah, pointing to her, and declared loudly, Sarah and Sora, I got you! And I stepped on the can triumphantly. This was the last stepping on the can. Yeah.
プラナリさんの半分以下の時間でしたね。
Good job.
俺が鬼の時は反則が多すぎたんだっつうの。
でもこんなに暗いのにドンピシャで名前当てまくるなんてすっごい勘だよね。
Everyone crowded around me and started making a fuss.
先輩、どういうことですか？あ、マヨは知らないのか。この子ね。
As you placed her hand on my head, she explained about how I caught her in Takeshi.
いい加減白状したらどうだ？お前もこっそり参加してたんだろ。
At some point, Tsugumi had returned to the conference room. Tsugumi sat in a chair pretending to be asleep and ignored Takeshi. I felt someone watching me and turned around. Sarah was looking at me strangely. I thought she might be angry again. It was just an accident. I avoided her look uncomfortably. That was the end of Kick the Can. In the end, it remained a mystery who kicked the can those times. We passed the rest of the night uneventfully. It was a peaceful time, and I decided to enjoy a satisfying rest. I scooped up water with both hands and splashed it on my face. The instant it made contact, it sent a sharp shock to my brain. I snapped open my eyes, completely awake. I thought I had probably repeated this ritual several thousands of times. It was my way of refreshing myself in the morning. I lifted my face and wiped it with the towel. A smooth white counter, a sink, and a finely cracked mirror. I stared foggily at my reflection in the mirror. Yay. I passed Takeshi as I was returning to the corridor. Hey. Hey, don't look so depressed, Takeshi. Well, a lot's happened in the last couple of days. Are you tired? Saying that, he headed off to the bathroom. Sarah and you were waiting in the conference room. The two of them seemed wired. Morning. No, I'm awake. I don't know about that. Sarah sure didn't seem to have a problem with mornings. I was just glad that Sarah appeared to be in a good mood. I was getting a headache. Maybe it was low blood pressure that made me not a morning person. Finally, when Takeshi came back, conversation turned to breakfast. We all made our way to the kiosk. Without Takeshi disappeared inside the kiosk. It looked like Takeshi would be chef for another day. But... Takeshi had let out a surprised yelp from inside. Looking into the shop, there was Takeshi frozen in front of the freezer with the door open. What's wrong?
どうしたもこうしたもあるかないんだよ。
ない？何が？
材料だよ。
No hot dogs?
ここに入ってたはずのソーセージがなくなった。
I like hot dogs.
最
No.
初からなかったんじゃないの？
No.
いや、夕べまでは確かにあったんだって。晩飯作ってた時に見つけたんだからな。
You think they were stolen?
誰に？
I don't know.
畜生。一体誰だよ。人がせっかく。
You monster! Takeshi slammed the door violently shut.
まあまあ、別に食料が底をついたわけでもないし、いつものメニューでいいんじゃないの？そんなことより早くご飯にしようよ。私もうお腹ペッコペコだよ。私も。
You and I were of the same opinion. We weren't expecting hot dogs to begin with, and I was hungry. Takeshi still looked peeved. Maybe it was because he was hungry too. The first thing we had to do was fill our stomachs. In the end, we gave up on hot dogs and went with our standby menu: chicken sandwiches for breakfast. When everyone had a Takeshi-made sandwich in hand, we sat down for a lively and fun breakfast together. You and Sara were especially boisterous. Takeshi said that the two of them easily made as much noise as 3 or more people, but that was just Takeshi being himself. The two of them never seemed to run out of things to talk about and kept jabbering away cheerfully about the most meaningless things.
ねえ先輩、覚えてます？
That sounds
うちの
fun.
学校に小西って先生いるじゃない
I
です
like
か。
people like that, they're fun.
小西？ああ、コニーのことね。滑覆のいい無類の動物好きの音楽教師。そうそう、そのコニー。まだいるんだ。あの先生も長いね。そのコニーがね、ついにこの間電子券を買ったんですよ。へえ、そうなの？あの大のメカ嫌いが？ええ、何度も可愛がってたペットに死なれちゃって、その度に学校休んで、もう疲れちゃったんだと思いますよ。私が学校にいた時はクローンで蘇らせたりとかしてたんだけどね。結局そのクローンも病気にかかって死んじゃうんですよね。あの先生、きっと呪われてるんですよ。そっか、あの子にもね。今の電子券って本物そっくりだから機械ってことを意識しないで買えるのかな。そういえば先輩の家にもいましたよね、電子券。うん、いるよ。本当はお母さんが飼ってるんだけどね。ずいぶん古いタイプらしいんだけど、壊れることもなく元気にしてるよ。考えてみればマヨはうちに遊びに来たことなかったよね。今度おいでよ、見せてあげるから。はい、そうですね、機会があれば。ほらほら、遠慮なんてしなくていいんだってば。私とマヨの仲じゃないの。ええ、もちろんですよ。
なあ、ところでよ、ちょっと聞いていいか？
Just then, Takeshi jumped into their conversation.
何
2人とも仲いいみたいだけど、どういった関係なんだ？
あれ、言ってなかったっけ？
Takeshi shook his head as he gulped down cola. You and Sara are from the same school. You graduated already. I think she said she was at Kiyomekon Girls High School until this last March. I answered for them, but you nodded. And when you was a senior, Sara entered the school as a scholarship student, you added. A scholarship student? I'd never heard that word before.
ひょっとして裏口入学ってやつか？
何でもかんでも自分と一緒にしないの。
ちげえよ、俺はそんなせこい真似してないって。
私、もともと家庭の事情で高校に進学するつもりはなかったんだけど、でも父が懇意にしている救命館の学長が相談に乗ってくれて、特待生として通えることになったの。要するにその才能を埋没させてしまうのは惜しいってことだったみたいね。
It sounded like Sara was a bit of a prodigy and sort of famous. Sara's amazing. This and the information from the day before about Sara's computer skills made me think that she might on a different level than the rest of us.
別に大したことないよ、そんなの。
Sarah looked bored as she said it. Maybe it was no big deal for her.
でもよ、学校は同じって言っても学年は違うわけだろ。ってことはクラブかなんかで一緒だったとか？
そうだよ。私と先輩は新入生のクラブ会員をきっかけに知り合ったの。
After eating the sandwiches, Sarah held the pop can with both hands and gazed at the ceiling with a distant look in her eyes.
あれは今から1年前、私が救命艦女子高等学校に入学して間もない頃の話。
Flashback? It was a sunny spring afternoon after class. A light wind made the cherry blossoms dance in the schoolyard as dust gently tickled the nose. There were groups of new students walking packaged in starched new school uniforms and expressions full of nervousness and expectations. There were senior students eagerly calling out to them to join their clubs. It was probably a scene played out on most school campuses. As I let my imagination run wild, I was looking around the campus trying to get a feel for my new surroundings. All of a sudden, from among the din of voices and activities, someone called out to me. Is this Sarah? I stopped. Looking in the direction of the voice was a girl student, her face one big smile. From the ribbon on her uniform, it was clear she was a senior. Her hair was cut short enough that it just hid her ears. It also made her look like a go-getter. When I pointed at myself to see if she meant me, she nodded, smiling. The smiling girl approached me. What was it with this person? I wondered if she were trying to pick me up, or I had a bad feeling about the situation. Seeing my skeptical face, the girl with the bobbed haircut tried to explain herself. So that was it. I wonder how many people had asked me the same question. I was pretty sick of the whole thing.
結構です。間に合ってますから。ひょっとしてもうどこかに入部が決まってるとか？いいえ。だったら。いえ、私どこにも入部しないって決めてるんです。もうそんなこと言わずに、せめてちらっとだけでも部室を覗いていかない？遠慮しておきます。ほれほれ、そう思いつつもどんなことしてるか気になってきたっしょ？ちっとも興味ありません。いいからいいから、取って食われるわけじゃあるまいし、ちょっと寄っていきなさいってば。ですから。ああ、つべこべ言わず黙ってついてきやがれ。
So that persistent senior dragged me to their club room, half by force. So you was that girl?
いかにも。
お前って今も昔もちっとも変わってねえな。っていうかまんまだ。
サイはね、あの時は必死だったんだからしょうがないでしょ。
Why are you so eager to get Sarah to join?
それは部にとっては死活問題だったからよ。存亡の危機に瀕してたの。要するに、
well then.
廃部寸前だったわけでござる。
ああ、なるほどね。
Oh yeah, they needed a member.
マッキュ先輩を入れてたったの3人しか部員がいなかったでござるからな。
That happens.
それいいな。
私はその年で卒業だったから、新入部員が入らなきゃそのまま廃部になるところだったのよ。自分たちの苦労して築き上げてきたクラブがなくなっちゃうなんて耐えられないでしょ。
まあそれはわからないわけでもないな。
ということで、部の存続のために背に腹は変えられない状態だったのよ。
So exactly what kind of club was it?
それはもう健全で、かつ上層教育にも役立つ知的で人生にとっても有益なクラブよ。
おお。
Takeshi took a swig of his cola.
で、具体的な活動内容は？
ハッキング。うわ、汚い。いきなり吹き出さないでよ。
然だっつうんじゃい。
なんでよ。
犯罪だろうがそれは。
I don't know how they do
の
hacking.
方でしょ。ハッキングは別に犯罪でもなんでもないの。
あ、そうなの？
Takeshi looked at me. His eyes said, "What the heck is she talking about?" I have no clue. Of course, I had no clue.
はあ、ねえマヨ、このアホにもわかるように教えてあげてよ。はーい。
Sarah cleared her throat, put on her explanation face, and started
本来
speaking.
ハッキングとは素早くリズミカルにキーボードを操作する様子、つまりコンピューターを操る行為そのものを指し示す言葉なのである。このハッキングのできる人のことをハッカーと呼び、転じてそれはコンピューター技術者、研究者のエキスパートの継承として用いられるようになった。多分たけしはハッキングっていう言葉をニュースで取り沙汰されるコンピューター犯罪者の不正行為、例えばシステムの機密情報を不正に取り出したり破壊したりする行為として認知しているものだと思われる。
So hacking was a good thing that turned into a bad one.
そういった行為のことを正しくはクラック、あるいはクラッキングといい全くの別物なのだ。そしてコンピューター犯罪を犯す人もクラッカーと呼び区別されるべき存在なのである。以上。
You clapped loudly.
わかった。要するに、ハッキングと犯罪は正しい意味で何の関連性もないの。あれはコンピューター技術の向上を目的とした素敵な集まりだったんだからね。
Yeah. I don't really have that much computer skills. Hacking looks pretty interesting. I'm just surprised that you was involved in an indoor club.
私ね、掛け持ちしてたの。他にもいろいろやって
Interesting to learn about all this.
全部で7つくらいかな。
Wow, I see.
それで結局サラはそのまま入部したわけだ。
うんうん。
You didn't?
そこでおとなしく入部しないところがマヨのマヨたるゆえんなのよ。
With that ambiguous comment, you got a distant look in her eye and started to speak.
マヨを部室まで連れ込むところまでは良かったの。でもね。さあどうぞ。ここが我らがハッキング同好会のブースよ。
Ooh.
どうしたの？遠慮しないで入ってよ。狭いところだけどさ。本当に狭いですね。まあね。それにものすごく物が多い。まあね。要するに入れないって言ってるんですけど。まあね。
Like always, our little one-room clubroom was so cluttered that there was nowhere to walk. Several computers and a steel rack covered the three walls, and the floor was covered in a tangle of cables. In what open space there was, computers without covers and bound-up printouts were piled high. A stuffed animal bumblebee, a button with a picture of a nuclear missile blasting off, an identified object X, and other stuff were scattered around, almost completely covering the floor. If Mayo had been a clean freak, we would have lost her right there.
あれ、ナキ先輩、その子ひょっとして新入部員？
A girl stood from in front of a computer in her chair nearly buried. She was the head of the club. She always wore glasses with black frames and kept her hair in two braids. Her name was, I forgot.
そうだよ。これでなんとか廃部だけは免れたね。
So as I answered her, I hopped from one open inch of the floor space to the next and into the room.
私まだ入部するとは。
Sarah was still contemplating on how best to enter the
とこ
room.
ろで相方は？今日は風邪で欠席っす。あ、そう。流行ってるみたいだから気をつけないとね。こんなところに長い時間いたら具合が悪くなって当然だと思いますけど。
Sarah gingerly entered the room as if searching for one foothold and then another. Every step she took, her footsteps were punctuated with a crunching noise as if something were breaking. Of course, we didn't pay any attention
そ
to
れ
it.
じゃあ早速実地体験といきますか。どうぞ座って。
I unearthed a chair from the pile of junk and gestured to Sarah to sit.
私部屋を
I unearthed it.
騙されたと思って触ってみ。意外と面白いから。その前に一つ聞いてもいいですか？なんなりと。このクラブハッキング愛好会でしたよね。ハッキング同好会。でもその割に画面に映ってるのただのゲームみたいなんですけど。そこなんだな。
I crossed my arms and nodded seriously several times.
実はハッキングとは名ばかりで、現役の部員にはまともにプログラミングできる人がいないのだよ。できる人はみんな卒業しちゃってね。まあゲームとはいえコンピューターのいろはを学ぶ意味においてはパソコンに慣れ親しんでおくのは悪いことではなく。
Yeah.
何？
Yeah, they are. That's a good way to
今
think
のう
about
ちに言っ
them.
ておきますけど私に関わるとろくなことないですよ。ですからまた何言っちゃってるんだろうねこの子は。無の存続の危機なんだからメリットこそあれどデメリットなんてない。これ触ってもいいんですか？
Sarah pointed at the keyboard.
あ、どうぞ。操作の仕方はね、結構です。わかりますから。
She sat in the chair, took the mouse, and stared at the monitor. She opened several files. Finding the one she was looking for, she opened it up and started editing it. She didn't even glance at the keyboard, she just tapped nonstop. The speed of her touch typing was incredible.
すごい。
When she had finished typing, Sarah opened a different piece of software and started typing in commands. The hard disk worked to life, and finally... Suddenly, the face of a bumblebee appeared on all of the monitors in the room. That face stared out at us and winked. Then all of the faces stuck out their tongues at us.
何これ？このパソコン操作を受け付けない？
The next instant, all the computers suddenly shut down at once. The two of us stood there stunned. Finished, Sarah stood up and said quietly,
わかったでしょ。私に関わるとろくなことがないの。だからもう付きまとわないで。
and then she left.
あれどうしたの？パソコンが立ち上がらないんですよ。電源のコードが抜けちゃったんじゃないの？そういうんじゃなくて電源が入ってるのに起動しないんです。
She meant that the software had been destroyed, and the problem wasn't limited to just one machine. All of the computers in that room that were connected to the network were in the same state.
まさかあの子あの短時間でここのシステムを
She actually do all of that. Looking down, there's a stuffed animal bumblebee growing up nastily at me.
マジっすか？
マジよ。
たくとんでもねえ女だな。
だってあの時の先輩とんでもなくしつこかったから。
だからってよ。
So Sarah didn't join? What? Then that would mean that...
逆よ、その逆。入部しなかったなんて言ってないでしょ。その後先輩ったら毎日のように私のところまで押しかけるようになったの。
Even though she did that to your computers?
されたからよ。
Basically, you had been taken by Sarah's genius, by her genius for programming. Day after day, her fixation drove her to call on Sarah. Finally, Sarah was overwhelmed by youth's enthusiasm and joined the
こう
club.
して私とマヨの付き合いは始まったってわけ。
Well, that's cute.
ニンともサンともニンニン。
With that long story finally over, we all
さ
stretched.
て食事も済んだことだし会議室にでも戻るとしますか？
Sure. Sugumi hadn't eaten, but there was no point in waiting around for her. We took her sandwich back to the conference room.
私はちょっとの間失礼させてもらうよ。
え、どっか行くのか？
うん、ちょっとね。こらこら、女の子のプライベートに首を突っ込みすぎると嫌われちゃうぞ。
You shrugged and patted me on the head.
先輩、私は悪いんだけど、マヨも遠慮してくれるかな。はーい。ごめんね、すぐに戻るから。
You shot the dejected Sarah a smile as she headed quickly toward the door.
どこ行っても構わねえけど、何かあったらすぐ戻ってこいよ。
You shot Takeshi a thumbs up on the way out the door. She was on the way to the conference room. I looked up at the ceiling. What's that? I thought I had seen something for a second, but when I had done a double take, I didn't see anything.
おい、どうしたんだ？
Even with Takeshi calling out to me, I couldn't tear my eyes from the ceiling. I wonder... I don't know what it was, but I swear I saw something.
見た？何を見たんだ？
Well, I didn't really see it. I just have a bad feeling about the second floor somewhere.
何言ってるんだよ、お前。
I think we should check that floor one more time. Saying that, Takeshi slapped me on the shoulder. Suddenly, I came back to myself.
あんま気にすんなよ。何かあれば、空があらかじめ警告してるはずだろ。
Yeah, you're right, but still.
お前も疲れ溜まってるみたいだな。
Yeah. I wondered if that was really all it was. I tried to remember what I had seen while I was walking. But it was like waking up after a dream and having the dream slip away. I couldn't remember it. When we returned to the conference room, Sugumi was there. And to our surprise, she was eating. Oh. The reason we were all so surprised was because Sugumi was eating a hot dog. Oh, where'd you get that?
Nani?
貴様か。
何を怒っているの？
Sugumi was indifferent. That just served to fuel Takeshi's fury.
たったさんとばかりじゃうんざりだろうっていう俺の思いやりよ。お前は
Just calm down. I tried to calm him down. But Sugumi just continued to munch on her hot dog without a
でも
care.
さ、さすがに独り占めはずるいと思うよ。
そうだそうだ、食い意地の張ったやつめ。今にクジラみたいに太ってマリアナ海溝に沈んでいく羽目になるぞ。おい、
独り占め？
Sugumi polished off the last bite and turned to face Takeshi as she wiped her hands.
意味不明ね。私が食べたのはこれだけよ。
なんだと？材料は確かに人数分あったはずだ。だけど今は一つ残らず消え失せてる。つまりはお前の胃袋の中ってことだろ。
さあね、数なんて覚えていない。ネズミにでもやられたんじゃないの？
ごまかすんじゃねえよ。そのネズミってのはお前のことだろ。
Takeshi's fury only grew while Sugumi stayed calm. She brushed away the hair from her forehead and stood up quietly.
もう一度聞くけど、何が起こっているの？
言ったろ。みんなの分まで食ったことに対してだ。
私も言ったはずよ。私が食べたのはこれだけ。それに
Sugumi glared at Takeshi.
あなたが怒っている本当の理由はそんなことなの？
あ？どういう意味だよ。
あなたの予定が狂ったことに対してではないの
？Schedule.
おう、そうだとも。本来ならばみんなにご馳走するはずだったホットドッグがなくなっちまったんだからな。
Sugumi stared unflinchingly at Takeshi. The two glared at each other. Sara and I were in no position to step in between the two. All we could do was watch to see what happened. It was then that suddenly a low metallic sound reverberated throughout the installation. It was a dull, muffled sound.
なんだ。
少し 揺れたわね。
The two turn their attention to the new situation, forgetting their
なあ
fight.
少年、今のは
I do want to know what happened to those hot dogs, though. I don't know.
まさかさっきの嫌な予感とやらが関係してるのか？
I shook my head. I don't know. Maybe we should ask Sora.
呼びましたか？
Sora appeared into the air out of nowhere and descended in front of us.
おお、ソラ、どこ行ってたんだ？
申し訳ありません。寝坊してしまいました。
Sora looked embarrassed.
寝坊？ってお前、いや、それはひとまず置いといて。
Hey, did something just happen? There was an awful noise just
フロ
now.
アを支えるシャフトの一部に歪みが発生しました。
We didn't see any signs of it yesterday.
はい、事前の計算にはありません。海流の乱れに影響された模様です。
どのくらいやばいんだ？
誤差の範囲内だと思いますが。いえ、待ってください。スバイトシュトックの倉庫、圧力制御用の配管に異常があります。
圧力制御用の配管って？
レミューを覆っている多重隔壁、その内部の圧力調整を行っているパイプです。万一これが破損していた場合、私の力ではこれを修復することができません。異常は軽微ですから緊急は要しませんが、倉庫の状況を確認いただいた方がいいと思います。お願いできますか？
ああ、任せてくれ。
Takeshi nodded right away.
しょうがないわね。
What? I couldn't quite make out what Tsugumi had said. Then
私も行くわ。
she unexpectedly volunteered for the task.
すぐみ？
何？私がついていくの不服？
いや、そういうわけじゃねえけど。
誤解しないで。事態が事態だけに一時休戦ってことよ。修理するなら工具類が必要なんじゃないの？私ならいろいろ扱い方を知ってる。
そうだな。わかった。頼むよ。
私も手伝うよ。
オッケー。じゃあサラも一緒に行こうか。あれ、そういえばユウはどうしたんだ？あいつまだ戻ってこないのか？
I wonder if she didn't notice the shaking just now.
いえ、そんなはずはないと思うのですが。
Do you know where she is?
申し訳ありません。あいにくと現在センサーの一部に支障が出ています。館内全域をチェックすることができません。
I wonder what happened to you.
ねえ少年、先輩を探しに行ってくれる？
Huh? Me?
うん、ちょっと心配なの。
I was also worried about Sara and everyone going off suddenly like that. An extra set of hands couldn't hurt. Takeshi, I'll go have a look around for you.
よし、それじゃあ少年、任せた。
何か分かったらレミを通じて私を呼んでください。
Alright, see you later. I ran through the corridor, kicking up spray as I went in. You! Hey, you! It was strange. I thought that maybe she wasn't on that floor. Just then, Sora's voice came to me from the voice
少
converter.
年さん、私です。空です。田中さんの居場所が分かりました。もちろん無事でいらっしゃいます。
Huh? Where is she?
スバイトシュトックの警備室です。
Security office? Why is she there again?
そこまでは分かりません。田中さんの方からこちらに連絡があったのです。
I got it. Well, I'll go to the warehouse as well
いいえ、
then.
それには及びません。
Why not?
調べたところ、幸いにして被害が大したことなかったのです。
Sora added that there were enough people to do the required
それ
work.
よりも田中さんのところへ向かっていただけますか？
To where you is.
はい、ちょっと様子が変なのです。
Strange?
断定はできないのですが、私にはそう感じられました。ですから誰か様子を見に向かわれた方がいいと思うのです。
Wouldn't it be better if you went instead of me? If something were strange, I didn't know what I could do.
申し訳ありません。あいにくと私はこれから制御室に行かなければならないのです。
Control room? Is something else wrong?
それはいえ、ちょっとした レミのメンテのためです。
I see.
大変お手数なのですがお願いできますか？
Sure, I don't have anything better to do. I'm out to check on you, the security office, right?
はい。ではよろしくお願いします。
I climb into the second floor via the emergency stairs. Alright, sweet. It's getting pretty scary. Bye!